online tutorial or be it being a little bit easier these days, anyone can be X, you know? And that kind of, I see why there would be people from professionals maybe in specific sectors where they go, you're coming for, you're coming for my title or you're coming for my role or something. I wonder whether anyone here would have that kind of interpretation of, well, if anyone can be me, then is me being less special all of a sudden, or is that kind of empowering me to be the other person, you know what I mean? At the same time, beyond that question as well, how would you say technology is helping the way that, for example, you were saying, tiles and Photoshops, tiles and Adobe, would not have mixed before, and now they do. Beyond just the tools, the sectors themselves. So how is technology helping you collaborate with different sectors of the design industry that maybe you wouldn't have been collaborating with, you would have been able to collaborate 10, 20, 30 years ago?
I think the obvious answer is that technology liberates us from the mundane, and it has been doing it since ever, right? You wouldn't carry a stone block on top of your shoulder when you can use a crane. You wouldn't, it liberates you from the manual work so that you can do a bit more of the thinking work. Nowadays, technology also liberates us from the mundane thinking work, so drafting. You can write scripts that do most of the drawings for you. Things like, analysis, you don't have to build physical models anymore, you can run analysis on a solar analysis on a computer. So it's liberating us from the mundane, and so that we can always do sort of higher tasks. What annoys me a bit is that I envisioned technology at this stage, or the future of technology, to liberate me enough so that I can write poetry or draw, or make it right. But instead I have tools that write poetry and tools that write or come up with drawings, and instead I'm in the office writing scripts. So again,
AI is having all the fun. So
yeah. But again, I think so. It's true that the barrier, and having said that, it's true that the barrier is low, and more people are engaging, which I think is very good, because you get more opinions or more stuff emerging from this field. But I don't think that sort of dilutes the professional, because the professional is, or the artist is not concerned about the prettiness of the picture in terms of visual arts, or in Nico's terms, it's the perfection of the ceramic object. The artist is concerned with the why, not the how. Not how it's done. Okay, how it's done is part of the everyday job we have to do. But the artist is concerned with why we do it, because at the end of the day, artists, I think everyone is a political animal. We come up with, we have agendas, we have dreams, we have hopes that we use our craft to convey. And what is important for me as someone who operates in the built environment and sees it as my art, is not the object that I make or the technology I use to make it, but the why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's what drives the concept. It's not the object per se. So the object, yes, many people can do it. Everyone can, 3D, print some foam, so if you print some mold and cast some concrete. But why we're doing that specific geometry and the message we're conveying and the concept that inspired it, I don't think everyone is readily available to do that.
I very much agree with that. Today, like in graphic design, for example, everybody can be, in a way, a designer, in the sense there are platforms where you can design templates, and they put their photos and the ready-made like PowerPoint presentations or infographics. Everything is ready-made, everything is available. But they're all the same, really and truly. So if you're an artist and you have your own story and you have your own voice and you are distinctive and you want to stand out, not in an arrogant way I'm talking, but you want to you do, then your voice will be very different, and your picture and what you convey, your creative expression will be very different from those who are trying to do like what everyone else is doing, because you're not trying to be part of a trend, you're trying to be a trendsetter to a certain extent maybe, or be different. Today with this Instagram and all the rest, all of us have become designers and photographers, but I think saying your story, being who you are, and this is something I always believed in since the beginning. For me, it wasn't just a matter of coming up with a concept, but the why behind the concept. Why am I doing this? Well, what is my objective? Why am I doing this art and not another form of art? It's because that is how I wanted to express myself with the story behind it.
Just also to address the elephant in the room, which is AI. Practically, that's why I said that you need to use AI as an assistive tool, rather than viewing it as something that will replace a person or an artist. Ultimately, AI is data, it's a trained model, it's trained by artists, but obviously it also then there's the other side that it facilitates art. So using generative AI now you can create mood boards faster, for example. So for a graphics designer it facilitates their job of creating mood boards, getting new ideas. But obviously then there's the personal element, as both William and Stephanie correctly said, that makes you an artist, makes you someone who wants to create something. And any technology cannot take that away. There are other interesting facts about technology that assist. So we were used prior years to go to visit a gallery. Now we have virtual galleries, we have visual stores, we have NFTs, we have blockchain technology, we have different spaces that weren't in existence before. And obviously these are also pushing artists to create a new medium. So if you want to be a digital asset, for example, artist, you need to get on board these kind of technologies. And it provides opportunities worldwide, because I'm in Malta and I can be creating digital assets and selling them across the EU, across internationally. So you always have to, as an artist, perceive the technology as an assistive tool rather than a competitor that will replace you. Ultimately, I opened ChatGPT lately and I told it a simple prompt. I told her, write a poem in Maltese, and it wrote a poem in Maltese. I was baffled. But obviously it's no Lunkar, so Rosa Rifa, that had that personal agenda, which William was saying, that have an element of being written with a purpose. So ultimately it wrote the poem.
It's a good point. I don't know, Nico, if you had something to add. It's a good point that you mentioned what is very aptly described as the elephant in the room, though, of course, Bernard, because I kind of wanted to get to that. And so far we have, of course, been talking about how these digital tools have definitely, incredibly shifted the way we work or the way we interact with design. As far as I can remember, it has been 99% positive, what we've been hearing. And we have also been kind of reminding everyone and singing the praise of course, the artist, the creative, the designer, the heart of it all, the importance of it to stand out. Of course, not alone in too much of a narcissistic way, but I am of the opinion that kind of a certain positive narcissism is also important in the history of design and art. That is kind of why it's so human. But we do also, of course, live in reality where these tools that we are discussing, the same way that we are discussing how they went from university tools to children's toys, the growth, the development is obviously exponential, it is undeniable. It will only keep on being more exponential. A very small example, when you said ChatGPT, you said her. I say him, I don't know why. And I am very careful to always be very nice to ChatGPT. My theory is when they take over, they're going to remember. That I was very nice to them. Just in case, I always say good morning, thank you so much, and all that. So there are these things, whether we do them knowingly or not, there is that kind of subconscious shift. The best example that I always bring up when I'm talking to my friends is the first time that I thought of these, I stumbled upon these image creation tools, AI creation tools. I remember the prompt of, I believe it was Will Smith eating spaghetti, I believe. And it was the most like alien creation. It was unrecognizable. It was horrific. That was a year ago. About a year later, I think 365 days to the date, they gave that same prompt, and Will Smith was like, this is me, what's happening? You know, this is just a year. Now, if we're going to be talking about 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the future, do you perceive some sort of slippery slope where the language that we're discussing here, where it's, yes, these tools are incredible, it's amazing, they really make my life easier, and let's face it, the poem is great, the stuff will climb, or the design is great, but the artist still stands out. Is there a point where that discussion, those, you know, those compliments to the human and the kind of patting of nice, good tool, does that start shifting a little bit into a little bit more of a weird discussion?
The digital in digital design is really what's causing all this problem, because it's breaking down every expression into numbers. And at its essence, it can be translated. I'm sure there's a file format that's common to all of us, even though we come from different disciplines. And what's happening in AI is we have machines that can pass that data because it's been broken down into data that it can process, understand, and feed back to us in the way we ask it to. So it's very important to understand that the future is accelerating because our efforts have been digitized. And these digitized efforts, expressions of art, now can be processed, cross-processed. And if I come up with an analogy that helps me understand it, it's like we form part of an orchestra, and we're all very proud of our individual instruments. But the computer, the synthesizer, can now get those and make us masters of any instrument inside the book. And actually give us the ability to play them all together and to have a feedback loop, which before we did not have. We needed to spend a lot of time to master a tool. Even if it was photography, at least you had a 1 day or 1 hour photograph development, which let you, and you had to get through your precious roll of 36 images, which you would slowly allow yourself to use before you come back to the point of learning from the pictures that you took. So imagine trying to learn music by stroking the guitar and waiting for 15 minutes before you hear the sound that's going to come out. We are in a world where we have instant feedback and our experience is translated and interchangeable. So this is going to go really, really fast because we are all speaking the same language. We're just not standing on the same place or dealing with the same subject. I think as from commercial art, what we're looking at is the gamification of every discipline. And this is happening in a platform that is, I'm calling it transmedia. Because every artist is operating and taking part and contributing and cross-collateralizing assets which I build and you use and you tweak and you play with and it's going backwards and forwards. So digital design is not just linear, it is now bouncing around. So the ideas that you will have in a studio like Bernard is managing are going to be exponential because there are no barriers, there is no one proposal, there is no just one expert. A 6-year-old can come up with an idea and program something that wasn't meant for it. So I think digital is a key word which we have to take on board, and as artists, I even think on a national level, the method that we can communicate in spaces like that are being developed, and we can empower each other to achieve things that we couldn't achieve before. I'm a big 3D printer, I love it. I know that we make things that you couldn't make before, 3D was printing, and the barrier to entry is a 120 euro printer and 20 euros worth of filament. It's ridiculous. And it puts you in a position to make things which 10 years ago you could not make. So I think the digital in digital design is a very important aspect, and I think going forward, we're only playing behind the curve. We speak as AI as something that is doing something we can't do. We all can do that together, and we all can partake in the same masterpiece from different perspectives.
Yes, and to continue with this point is practically it will unlock also new opportunities. So for example, let me give you a very simple example how it will empower artists as well. So I'm a gamer myself, I like playing games. As we stand today, we start our journey very young, so we play Minecraft, Roblox. I'm not sure if you have any kids, but you see them playing Minecraft. They buy digital assets on the game. These are created by artists. They grow up of the game by time. They are in their teenage years. They start playing World of Warcraft, Starcraft, whatever have you. They buy digital assets there, and if they grow up of the game, practically digital assets remain remnants of the past. With development of blockchain like Web 3.0, these digital assets can be tokenized and resold by actual players. So if I have a Minecraft game and I have an asset and I grew out of the game, I can get that asset and sell it in a marketplace. With this transaction, we are seeing that artists will gain a share in that sale, and obviously I as a consumer will benefit because the digital asset is no longer, I don't need them anymore, and I can buy different other digital assets. So there are niches where technology will create opportunities. This is I gave an example in an esports world where artists will benefit, but there will be obviously other venues that currently aren't that will gain positive traction. So I've seen a recent also example using AI and ChatGPT. An artist wanted an idea. They had the general concept in mind, and they prompted ChatGPT to provide them with different scenarios and outputs, and then they created the actual one of the outputs the AI offered. So here it's always about using the technology as an assistant and as a tool. So yes, in the future there might be more trained models, but it doesn't mean it will replace the artist. So there's always a human element behind technology. I started the speech and I said people are, technology is made up, behind every technology there is people, because technology is people-centric. So yes, there might be models, there might be better trained models, there might be high-performance computers that will enable different outputs, like with the Will example. But of course, there is always the need of a human element and an artist. Ultimately, is an artist. So that is very difficult to replace.
On the other hand, I sort of like warrior it, right, in my case, and especially sort of like a year ago, you know, like I used it for the first time, I asked like the CDS question, right? A year goes by, and I'm like fully dependent on it, right? There's not one email I send, it doesn't go to ChatGPT. And you know, like, we get so accustomed to these advancements, right? I'll mention the ceramic kiln, what we used to fire our ceramics in. You know, 29,000 years ago, 30,000 years ago, the invention of the bit firing, where all ceramics used to be thrown in a huge pit, and you know, like there used to be a fire. 30 years later, you know, I control my kiln to my phone, right, to Wi-Fi. So this big shift, right? It does save time. Life is sort of like rapidly increasing in terms of like how much expectations we have and how much we have to fulfill. So, you know, like it's these things at a certain point I feel stop being a choice, just like I don't have time to dig a hole in the ground, collect wood and, you know, wait, like babysit the ceramics being fired for 2 days, right? My worry is that sort of like, am I becoming too dependent on this rapidly advancing technology?
That's a very good question, because I feel like the same way you said, of course, digitally here is so pivotal to the discussion, and the same way that we're here, specifically the same way that other talks were about fashion or food, this is very much about technology. And I feel like the one thing also that everyone is touching up on as well, maybe sometimes just kind of flirting with it and then stopping a bit, but Nico here did this, the concept of time. That a lot of these things look attractive because they don't just make it better, they make it more efficient. And time is money, or time is slowly running out of hand, because of all the things that we want to do. I just wanted to ask a very, very quick follow-up, Nico, to that question, to what you were saying. Specifically, we're caring about something that is so traditional, so entrenched in kind of the most base human art form, right? And just so you said, I don't have time to start digging a hole and all that and being a fire. If you did have the time, would you actually prefer to do it that way? Do you think, it's a genuine question because I've always kind of asked this, would you feel like your art is more genuine, for lack of a better word, if it's done in a traditional way? Because I would kind of want to also ask you within your own different, a photographer, for example, waiting all those days for the photo to be developed, is that more special than if you take a burst shot of 25 photos and then you just get the first one that looks good? Are you going to be learning more or less from that? Is the photo going to be less or more special? If the tiles have to be Photoshop versus hand painting, whatever, all of those things. If we have to see a building, if we can just walk in AR before we even do anything, or VR, does that make it less or more, for example? I kind of want to touch upon that. If we did have unlimited time, would we do away with these just because it's a little bit more German, or do you think it's completely not a consideration?
I've always viewed sort of like these technological advancements either as a shortcut or as contribution towards something, right? And in my case, like, firing, like let's say, it completely changes the outcome of this random object. So I've done it, but again, it's a luxury, so it's so difficult to think if it makes the work more genuine. Personally, I tend to gravitate towards these kind of works, artworks that is done this way, but probably it is because I will do it that way, right? And I think on the flip side, like if you had someone who has never seen a 3D printer, all their life maybe they're used to just firing in a pit fire and making things with their hands, I think they would also feel the same level of amazement that I feel when I see someone using sort of like very humble materials to make their work.
And the follow-up, of course, while everyone is thinking about their answer, is there a future where we value these traditional quote-unquote genuine ones more? And is that fair? Is it even fair to be like, because you don't have the technology, or you have the time to do away with the technology, so I appreciate it more. Is that a consideration? Is that even fair as an estimation? Before that, William, sorry, like that's not twice.
I think that's sort of very bourgeoisie to think that if you have all the time in the world, that means your craftsman should spend that time doing your work rather than spending it with his family or doing whatever the artist wants to do, right? I once saw a Persian carpet, which apparently took something like 83 years to fabricate, massive carpet. That means that someone became an apprentice, and this carpet was already started, he worked on this carpet, and then retired, and this carpet wasn't finished. It means that during his whole career as a carpet weaver, there must have been at least one person that spent it on one carpet for one rich king sovereign. And I don't believe that's the purpose of art. Let's not use art, and this is my argument against people who say, oh yeah, but Nico's not doing it with his hands, he's cheating, he's printing. My critique of it is I would rather have Nico making 5 products or whatever, or outcomes, and then spend the rest of his time doing whatever he wants, and living as a person, growing as an individual, then watch him slave away to make my object, the object that I'm commissioning. And let's not use art in that way, as a tool to oppress artisans, skilled people, laborers, whatever. Right? When I say artist, I don't mean the person wearing all white and sitting in a studio coming up with ideas. I mean the artisan, the person engaging with the material, all the team that goes into making an artwork. And technology has provided ways to escape that, or sort of emancipate ourselves in a way from the daily labor and step up to something else. To go back to something you were mentioning before, is very positive. It sounds very, very positive. What is the scare bit about this? And something which you mentioned about the digital world, which is very, very true, is it starts becoming almost like a homogeneous soup. Like everything is, working with tiles, taking traditional tiles, working with Photoshop, creating artworks from them. I've seen something similar, I'm not saying, it's a crap, in Beijing, working with different type of print, working with wood carvings and working with Photoshop too. So suddenly, 40, 50 years ago, you would go to the Orient, see a beautiful, building, whatever, come back with ideas, sketch it in your notebooks, and it would have been an amazing experience. Nowadays, I go to a museum in Vienna, a museum in Beijing, a museum in Seoul, in Rome. They kind of look a bit homogeneous. The artists are completely different, but the artworks, they're coming out from the same almost studio or design thinking. So I think what technology, that speed that we were mentioning before, the ability to bounce off ideas or build up on ideas that come from across the globe, is generating a homogeneous output, which is very scary because that destroys individuality.